Self-isolation. The best thing you can do or the worst mistake you could do. I have certain experiences towards this. Um, Recently, obviously, living alone in Rome. I don't, I have some friends and I go out, but I don't. I'm not really on that wavelength anymore of like going out every night and going to bars and stuff like that. I'm trying to, without sounding cliche, I'm trying to look into my future and look at what I want to do and find something that I'm really passionate about. That's why I'm doing multiple ventures to figure out one thing that I can fully lock in on, because I haven't really found that yet. I have a lot of interest in a couple things, and yes, it's good to have interest and hobbies and multiple things, but you have to fully focus on one thing that you're really passionate about if you want to take that to the next level. So I've been more so on that, and I've also had the other side of isolation when I was at my first college, Utica, and I I had like three or four friends that I would do stuff with, but like go to the bars, smoke some pot. But other than that, I was just by myself. Like I was to myself, and I didn't. The difference between now and then is, again, that was negative self isolation, and then what I'm doing right now has been positive to me. And the difference is, I used the time that I had when I was by myself. I'm using that now to better myself. Doing these videos where I'm just talking. I'm bettering my speech. I'm bettering how I talk. I've always had that issue with being a little self-conscious about my talk because I have a stutter, and I've actually have seen that I've gotten pretty good with that. Like I've gotten really good, and part of that is, I think, being just sitting here and talking to you guys for 10, 20, 30 minutes, doesn't matter how much. But I've been using that. I've been reading more. I've been upping on my current politics stuff, my stock market stuff. I'm using the best of my available time that I have, because I'm not doing things that I wouldn't that I used to do, like going out and doing stuff like that. On the opposite side, Utica, I smoked pot and played Xbox my entire time that I was by myself, and none of that did anything good for me besides make me hate what I was doing and make me hate my life there. In reality, the wavelengths that I'm on now, like my mental side of things, like I would prosper in that type of environment now, because I'm so comfortable by myself, and I know what I know. I have things that I can do to fill the gaps of boredom. I can do things where I'm not just sitting here on my phone scrolling. I have other hobbies now, other interests. Back then it was just go to class, smoke pot, and play Xbox, and that was just terrible for my mental health. I'm not saying that I don't stay in a lot on weekends here. It's more than I used to, but I would stay in every weekend there and just play Xbox with my friends back home, and not have any care in the world for school, my social life, how I looked, how I presented myself. My acne got really bad, my body got really bad. I was not in a good headspace there, and because I was practicing negative self isolation. Self isolation can either build you or slowly destroy you. The scary part is you don't really you don't always realize which one is doing, which one it's doing. Because sometimes feeling like alone feels productive, and sometimes it's just you not wanting to do anything, you making that excuse, I'll do it later. I'll do that. I'll do it later. I excuse me, I've gotten really good at that, at procrastination, but I still suffer from, I think everybody has some sort of procrastination that they do, but I used to procrastinate to the very end of things, and that was me being by myself and be like, yeah, I'll do it later. I'll just keep on watching YouTube, or keep on scrolling on Instagram or TikTok. I was doing that instead of being productive in the time that I had when I was by myself. Most people don't isolate for no reason. a lot of the times there's things that push people, not push them, but self-isolation feels better than being outside when it comes to like stress, or you don't feel like you're understood by people you are with, wanting peace, heartbreak's a big reason. At first it feels good, like it's quiet, it's controlled, no drama, no expectations, no pressure really. And honestly, like sometimes that's exactly what you need in certain aspects, in certain situations. But doing that long term will never benefit you at all. I mean, I talk about this all the time. My brother knows I talk about it. My brother was severely depressed when I was in high school, and I watched him for a whole entire summer break just stay inside and play Xbox. And for a while, it was okay because he didn't want to be. But then that 1 week of being inside all the time and me seeing how he's declining slowly, then another week, then a third week, then a month, then a month and a half, then 2 months. And over time, I just saw him slowly deteriorate mentally more than he already was originally, because he used up his needed time for isolation. He went past that like that alarm that he had that told him enough is enough. I did what I need. I learned what I needed to learn by myself. Now I can go out and do things. That never happened to him, and he kept on the same ways that were affecting his mental health negatively. But then on the flip side, isolation, when it's good, it's very powerful. It gives you time to think clearly. Like I was saying, it gives you time to build discipline, gym, work, goals. Me being out here, all I can see is myself with this same worth ethic that I've developed over the last 4 months when I was in semester. So it was a little difficult to have really focus in on and tune down these skills, because I had to make sure I was studying for a quiz next week. I had to do all that. So it was hard, but with the discipline that I've built over those 4 months, I'm on summer break now, and I'm just imagining myself in 2 months. I'm so close. I could grab, that dream that short-term goal that I have of continuing the disciplines and the worth ethic that I've built over these last 4 months into the summer, every day, consistently, scheduled, a structure, until I go back home in July. I can see myself running. I ran 6.5 miles today, straight. My average pace was like 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And back home I was running 2 miles, 3 miles, and that was when I was consistently going to BJJ, doing MMA, getting good cardio. And I think me being isolated to myself, I had more time to think, and I had more time to build these mental powers in my brain that when I'm running, oh, my calves hurt. You have a dream. Fuck it. Your calves will hurt. If you stop now, they'll hurt. If you stop in 20 minutes, they'll still hurt. So what's the fucking difference? I have these goals in my head that I've written down, and I'm so eager to attain them that I'm just, me being by myself out here has just helped me out so much. Me having this isolation has built up this mental fortitude that I have now, and it could be a lot better. I'm not saying I'm fucking perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm actually probably one of the farthest people from perfect you could find in this world. I'm by far perfect. I just have had a lot of trial and error, a lot, and I mean a lot. And it's led me to know exactly what I have to do to get to where I want to be, because what I did and tried for the last 5 years of my life, nothing new that I tried worked. So I've been journaling like crazy out here, and I just put together what I wanted and what I want to be. And me being by myself and looking at that and thinking about it, it's all I think about in my life. Yeah, I was in semester and I was going to school. But even then, all I could think about is my life in 2 years. The like drive that I have, that I've been building. All I can think about 24/7 is how I can be better tomorrow, to make it more easily attainable what I want in the future. And that is one reason why self-isolation is good, because like I said, you can't, you're able to hear your own thoughts. And when you're surrounded by people, by noise, you can't really hear your own thoughts in that way. You know, some of the biggest improvements in your life will come when you step away from everything that's causing you stress, even for a short time. You know, I'm not saying be a fucking hermit and go live and go and never go out, and like, you should. Having that social experience is what makes a human being, but you have to take time out of your day to be by yourself and think out the ways you go around your life and how you can better improve it. When isolation turns bad, here's also a second part of, like, the flip side, back over to the bad part. Isolation becomes dangerous when you stop using it and it starts to use you in a way. You know, avoiding problems instead of facing them, procrastination, overthinking everything you do in life, losing social confidence, you know, getting comfortable by being in an unhealthy way. One of the biggest things I probably could have with that, and I could speak into that a little bit, is losing social confidence. You know, when I was at Utica, I didn't have any confidence to talk to anybody new. I had my 3 friends, and that was it. And that's kind of always how I've been, because I've always generally been, like, not popular kid, but I was known. You know, I had a big friend group. You know, it was really good friends. And I mean, looking back at it, only 4 or 5 of them were, or not even, only 3 or 4 of them are friends that I know for a fact I will have until the day I die. But being at Utica, there was days where I would go without having a conversation with somebody. It was either that I could have had one, but I was way too fucking high to process the conversation, or I just didn't want one at all. And that made my social confidence, you know, my ability to go talk to random people at a bar, my ability to go talk to a girl at a bar, that made my confidence so fucking low. I had to do a complete 180 on my life when I left Utica to fix the bad habits and the mental weaknesses I put on myself. You know, you tell yourself you're working on yourself, but nothing is actually changing. That's a big thing, you know. I saw this quote the other day in a YouTube video. It was, I forget, I feel like a dickhead for forgetting the video, but it went along the line as, like, destiny without any action is just a basically bullshit goal. You know, a goal without any action is just bullshit. You know, if you have all these goals in your life, and I suffered from this for so long too. Like, you have these goals, you want to be something, you want to be somebody, you want to be different than what you are currently, you want to be in a better position than you are currently. You will not get anywhere you want to be just bullshitting around and not doing anything, you know? I was the king of procrastination, the king of, I should probably fix this, but I'll do it later, you know? I fell victim to, it's kind of embarrassing, to the 2 a.m. TikTok motivational videos, you know? I had the times where I wanted to better myself, and then when the time came to better myself, I was never there for myself. And now I'm seeing how, honestly, quite simple it is to be there for yourself when you want to be a better self, you know? There's a difference between being alone to grow and being alone because you're stuck. The worst part is bad isolation sometimes feels safe. You know, you don't get rejected, you don't get hurt, you don't have to deal with people. You know, you're at a bar, you see a girl, you think she's cute. Oh, I won't talk to her. That means I won't get rejected. I won't get my feelings hurt. I just won't go do it. When in reality, what are the odds you ever see that fucking girl again in your life? You know, why not just go for it? Who cares? Rejection's rejection. Failure's not failure. Failure is not a thing. Failure is, you have to wire your brain to think failure isn't even a fucking human process. You know, you can't even experience failure, because failure to me is just minor setbacks on the path to success. You know, failure is doing something wrong, but knowing and processing you did something wrong and doing the complete opposite the next time around. You know, failure is nothing. It means nothing. Well, it means something, but failure doesn't mean you have failed completely. You also don't grow in life the ways that require discomfort. You know, and over time, your world just gets smaller with negative self isolation. But you can use it in right ways. You know, you could. How would you know if your isolation is helping you or hurting you? Ask yourself, am I improving or am I avoiding? Am I building something or just passing time? Am I choosing this or am I too afraid? Or am I afraid not to? Good isolation has a purpose. Bad isolation has excuses. Being alone isn't the problem. Staying there too long for the worst reasons is. You know, use isolation to rebuild yourself, to fix the cracks in your system that you have. You know, it's not just to disappear from your life. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys the next time.